So, welcome everyone. We are officially all live on Facebook. If you've never done a Facebook Live before, and I think I haven't before, this is all our first Facebook Live. And we'd particularly like to welcome Andreas Grammas from Oman Insurance. Great to have you with us, Andreas.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
It's
really a pleasure to be here.
So let's find out who's here first of all. Can I ask you all just to, in the chat box, because we're on Zoom, write down where you're from, maybe your name, and what are you most curious about for the interview with Andreas today? What have we got here? Looking forward to listening to your story, the impact of your journey as a coach. There's curiosity, Andreas, about how you built a coaching culture, or the building of a coaching culture in your organization, the impact of coaching on your organization. Curious about how we can help people through COVID, and then also curious about the OIC journey in coaching and its impact on the organizational culture. So I think by the look of it, you're all in the right place because we've got Andreas and we're here to talk about coaching, and we're in International Coaching Week, the theme of which for us this year is coaching for COVID. So we are live streaming. We are going to have an interview with Andreas. So I want to ask if you could all turn off your videos, because that then allows us to focus in on the live stream on myself and Andreas. And Sarah, let me know when you're good to go. Good to go. Okay, so Andreas, once again, thanks for being here. For those of you who don't know Andreas, I'll say it briefly, but maybe you can say some more afterwards, Andreas. But Andreas is he's an EVP and the head of HR for Oman Insurance. At least that's what his LinkedIn profile says. And I've known Andreas for some months now. Andreas is a graduate from our program, as well as some of his colleagues. And we've had the good fortune to actually do some work with him and his colleagues within Oman Insurance. And we may get onto some of that later on. But first of all, thank you. Hello, Andreas. And would you maybe introduce yourself in a bit more detail?
Thank you very much for having me.
Tell us about yourself a little bit.
Oh my God, about myself. Well, you know, I'm from Greece. I grew up in Greece and in the United States. After high school, I went to Syracuse University. Very LinkedIn stuff, I know. I had the passion for traveling, so I took the opportunity, returned a bit to Europe. I traveled to the UK. I took my first MBA there. So basically, I'm kind of combining traveling with education. And then I went to Germany. I took a second MBA, had the opportunity to do so. And then, in essence, I had to make some decisions about my life path. What I realized very quickly is that I have a passion for people, and so a career in HR sounded very natural on that. Having traveled so much, having met so many people, it was sort of say a natural fit to pursue a career in HR. I started my career with Hay Group. Hay Group is a leading HR consultancy. I was working with them for 12 years. And obviously, the highlight of my life is I met my wife in Hay Group. And my amazing wife, my long life partner.
Beautiful.
Following that, I finished my career with Hay Group as the head of organizational effectiveness practice for the whole Middle East. And I had a short stint with Tamwil for a couple of years as their head of organizational effectiveness. And since 2011, I'm with Oman Insurance Company as the head of HR. I have amazing twin girls, 10 years old, passion of my life. And I don't know, this gives a little bit about who I am, I guess.
Thanks, Andreas. Perhaps I could just ask you to say a few more words just about a couple of things that piqued my interest. Could you maybe let us in on a bit more about what your role means for you currently? So what do you do? What's your focus? What brings you to life?
It's very interesting to say that. What I do is I make change. I make sure that people are aligned with the company, I guess. And as I say to my daughters in a lot of our conversation, my job is to make people happy. Be happy in the workplace, be engaged in the workplace, and motivate to contribute to our great mission. Now, Oman Insurance is an insurance company. Our core mission is very noble. Is to, protect people, to help protect people. So my job is that everybody is aligned to that mission, and they're greatly motivated towards that. I don't know if that makes sense. But this is how I see it.
And what I can also say, Andreas, from having worked with you, is that you have your eyes on many different things, very much business focused. So from your position, yes, it's not just about the doing of HR, you're looking at the whole business.
Yeah, and again, success comes through people. So the way I see myself is more of a business leader with strong HR expertise rather than an HR professional into that. So, the business is out there to achieve something. How do you mobilize the great people that we have in order to achieve that something that there is to be achieved? This is how I see my role into the great grand scheme of things.
Lovely. Andreas, we've had a couple of requests if you can just speak slightly louder.
Okay, fair enough.
Or maybe come closer to your microphone. I think that's going to help.
Yep. Done.
Awesome. Now, unfortunately, we're in this coronavirus situation. We know it's impacting everyone in different ways. And I heard recently, and it hit me pretty hard actually, someone said, we're not all in the same boat. Actually, we're all in the same storm, but all in very different boats. And so I wondered, how does your boat look like in the storm? So how is it affecting you?
From a personal perspective, there is a plethora of feelings that are happening, right? Obviously, there is a great concern about our people. So that is always in the mind. There's a great concern about our customers and how do we work in order to sort of say, service our customers who really at this time, they need our protection, right? On a personal level, I do enjoy, the time with my family. I do enjoy the extra time that we have, because we don't have to commute. And so this is quite stimulating, I would say. And it is also a good opportunity to start reflecting about the things that are important in life, rather than dwelling, sort of say, on the drama, and then making a reference to one of your tools, the levels of attention, yeah, where, we tend to focus a lot in the daily dramas, but, at the higher level, you realize what is important or what is not important. So this is how I'm personally coping with this. I'm trying to figure out where should I set attention to, and, think of what is important, and reflect it a little bit about what can I control or not? And again, making reference to one of the tools that we have discussed in the past, it is, if you look in the circle of control, okay, you are aware and you can control your thoughts and your feelings and your actions, but you cannot find a cure for COVID, right? So that is outside your area of control. Now you can be very afraid about it or get worried, fine, go ahead, acknowledge that. I think acknowledging it, it's a powerful state of mind to be, but realize also that you cannot control it. So you have to work within the areas, the feelings and the actions that you can control in reality. And we are in a situation, and I think this is what is a bit different than sort of say the normality is there are things, a lot of things that are not within our control. And I think that has made people a bit afraid. That has made people also reflect a lot. And that has made other people, change their actions in order to prepare for the new world that is out there. And I think that is a better way to look at it. And again, I don't want to be the guy giving advice, but that is my perception.
You remind me that there's a lot of people who are now already wanting to think and consider, if what we had is no longer around, what's the new normal going to be like?
Yeah. Again, we're guessing right now because we are still in the middle of this. Yeah. But I think the new norm will be very similar to what we're experiencing now. I don't see it. I see that the way the world is changing, this is a catalyst, a great catalyst of change. So after sort of say, an economic downturn or a crisis, you will see that this will be the new norm.
Andreas, I just want to check in with not just you, but everyone else at the moment. Just let people know that we're going to keep this interview style one-on-one until about 22 or quarter to the hour. And if you've got questions for Andreas, feel free to put them in the chat. And Sarah and I will be collecting them. And in the last 15, 20 minutes of our time until the end of the hour, we'll then bring in some of the questions that you have for Andreas. So perhaps you've got a question around something that he's said so far, or perhaps there's going to be a question that comes to your mind as we go. As you think of it, please put it into the chat and we'll gather it up together. So Andreas, one of the things that people are curious about is about your own coaching journey. And I think I can say that when I first met you, at least the impact you had on me was that you were a little bit skeptical. But so can you tell us something about your journey?
I really like the way you put it very diplomatically in that sense. Okay, well, the truth is, throughout the career, we've had, we tend to wear different hats, right? You wear the consulting hat, and I wore that, quite a number of years. You're a mentor, you're a teacher, and without structure, you're also a coach. Now, my perception of coaching was, it's a fad, it is too much into the soft side of things, and yeah, whatever, right? We had those discussions.
Yeah.
So I was very skeptical, I have to say. Certain things have happened. So we were running our high potential program. What happened during that program, we used to have a lot of mentoring taking place. The mentors were great. The participants were amazing, but something was missing. And we had internal discussions here, and what we realized it was missing, it was more around accountability, ownership. You're taking charge of the change that you want to do to yourself. So, that was always in my back of my mind. Then I had two of my colleagues starting their coaching journey. And I saw and I witnessed the immense impact that had to them. So, then I started, becoming a little bit more curious on this thing. And, we had the chance to interact. My skepticism decreased significantly. And I started my own journey into this aspect. I realized, and as I was getting more into coaching, that I can influence people much better this way. The principles that we sort of say discussed over the sessions really had an impact to me as to become a better leader. Hence, being a better leader, and with my position that involves the well-being of around 1,000 people or so, I could make a greater impact to those lives. So, this has been the journey so far for me. I'm still a student of that. You know it very well. We are discussing this. So I am a student of coaching. I don't claim to have any expertise into that area, of course.
We have a question here from Amy. She's just curious about how does coaching help you in your day-to-day activities of HR management? So could you just scratch a bit deeper into that?
Yes. It is. And again, the impact, it's not like, trying to have an overhaul impact. I see it into the little things that you do differently day by day. For example, you have a meeting. How many times do we have a meeting and we don't set an intention? Right? You have a meeting. Okay, guys, fine. We're going to start this meeting. What do we want to achieve by the end of this meeting? That, I have started applying that with my team. Our meetings are more crisp and you get results out of those meetings. And we're all aligned, number one. Number two, active listening. We discussed a little bit about active listening in a different context, but at the end of the day, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means we have to listen a little bit more than we talk. People like to hear the voice of the sound of the voice, but it's also very important to understand each other. Then, how do I give feedback? Starting with, asking for permission for that feedback. It's not that people, want to sit and hear from you. Okay, what do you want to talk to me about now? So, and then how do you approach in a proper conversation approach? And all the steps related to that. I found it very powerful to also look at the vulnerability aspect of things. It is good to be vulnerable. That adds immense value to the type of the relationship you want to achieve with your people. And finally, it is also more powerful relationships allow you to explore more about the feelings and the impact of those feelings and thoughts and actions. So, when you put it out there, you bring in the discussion to a whole different level. What you just said, it had that impact on me, and now this is how I feel. That by itself is a very powerful statement, in a corporate environment.
Andreas, if I can summarize, clarify.
Yes, please.
What it says to me is that there's like lots of little things, but actually when you put them together, it creates something that's more powerful than any one thing.
Yes, exactly. And this is how change happens. It's not by, magically do an overhaul transformation. Okay, you start working with your feedback. You start setting intentions. Slowly but steadily, over a 6-month period, you will see a huge difference. And this is how I've, so to say, implemented on my leadership role.
You mentioned about the vulnerability piece and how it has impacted the depth of relationships. Are you able to say any more there? Because I know even from my own personal experience, the being more vulnerable, the asking others around me to be more vulnerable, it can be, it can feel risky, it can be a bit unusual, particularly in the corporate space.
Yes, I totally agree with you. The corporate environment is an environment that you not expect to show vulnerability, right? It's there is a lot of saving face going around. I realized that whenever you try to be authentic and vulnerable at the same time, you tend to focus then on the things that matters. Example, something happens. Okay, guys, this thing happened, I made a mistake. It's fine. It is part of our job. Now, I don't need to waste, my time or company resources time to try to acknowledge and see, no, it wasn't my fault and this thing happened and, it was his fault or that department's fault. Fine. You say, guys, yeah, we dropped the ball on this, and you continue. This is a very simple example. And then you can take all these obstacles away and have a more meaningful connection.
It's a great question here, building on this from Chantal. She says, what type of resistances did you face in your team, both senior and junior? And what tips do you have to ease this into an organization which does think it may be a bit on the fluffy side?
Okay, so it is quite interesting. One of the first things I tried to do with my HR team was to sort of say, introduce commencement. The tool that we have discussed about, right? And before starting the meeting, everybody will go around and we will do the commencement exercise. So that by itself, you could see people, some of our colleagues were not comfortable doing that. Now, that I don't see as a resistance because we went about it once, twice, third time. People start opening up. I don't see a lot of resistance per se on the approach. I would say the negative aspect would be when people are not going on board with it as fast as you would see. That's why we have followed a more personalized approach into this. So first, we have worked a lot with our future leaders. And then slowly they would pass on, they would start implementing coaching practices with their people, and then they will cascade it that way. Before the shutdown, we started the line manager program. Again, the same idea. You choose particular groups, and slowly you try to infuse coaching culture into the organization. We had great sessions with our UN national population, and a great shout out to Aus and Mariam on that. That was a huge impact that program had to a significant part of our UN national populations. I see people now that put personal goals and professional goals, and they are working towards that. And it is so rewarding when you see the change. So my aspect is, I don't want to look at a negative aspect on a large population, but I want to focus on the single successes that we have on a one-to-one basis. And as time goes by, change will happen. I had managers that they came to us and they said, well, you know what, I implement commencement and my meetings have become very powerful. That is one of the future leaders that you and Paul have sort of say worked with. And then you can see what is interesting is that you can correlate that to engagement, team engagement scores, and team performance scores.
Oh, say some more about that.
Well, you know how people say, oh, engagement and performance are linked, right? Now, what are the influences of engagement? Well, one of them is the whole institution that we call Oman Insurance, or the organization and its constituents, right? The other one goes into and the most important one is on the localized level. And the management style of the leader is at the end a great influencer on what we call employee engagement. So if I can work, and again, it's not going to happen magically, right? It is the great sum of one-on-one interventions. But if we can work with those line managers and sort of say, introduce them to the coaching management style, then that will correlate to engagement and company performance. Again, if you remember at the beginning, you asked me what is my role. My role is also look at the people, but to also look at the company. So engaged employees means high-performing organization. It is the perfect win-win here.
So Andreas, I've got some questions coming up and I'm listening to you. I'm trying to fit them all together. And
you can do the magic.
So what I've been, thank you, Andreas. What I've been hearing is that you're working with key people groups, the ones that you think where you're going to get, in some ways, the biggest bang for your buck in terms of shifting the needle on developing coaching culture. And your hope is that as people see some shifts in some small areas, they're going to take more notice. That's the first thing I'm hearing. And I've got some questions here around things like, how are you thinking around now having started, how are you going to keep momentum? And how are you going to help the shift flow down the hierarchy? It's all thinking around how can you keep this going and how can you make it larger? So what reflections do you have on that?
Well, again, and if I get the question right, how can I keep this going in the current situation? Or
I think there's two questions here. I think it's how can you keep it going in an organization? But then there's another level of in the current situation.
So anyway, it doesn't really matter because the principle is the same. Focus, perseverance. You know, you don't need to do anything else. The more one-to-ones you will have, then it would multiply by itself. So you just to be very focused into the game. Sometimes you will see, okay, you didn't have the great impact you wanted to have. Fine, you move into the next focus group and the next group and the next person. So let me give you a little bit of numbers just to shed the light on the impact. So our future leaders, this is a group of 10 leaders reporting to the, so to say, executive committee, who have the potential of becoming successors to that, you know, in the upcoming future. They all have teams, they manage teams. So by itself, if I'm able to change, sort of say, or to infuse the coaching culture to these 10 people, I have an influence on 50 other people. Now, half of these 50 people are also line managers, who then by themselves, they have they have an additional, let's say, if you multiply it by 5, another 75 people that they're impacting.
Mm-hmm.
So this is only what result you can get by working with 10 people. UAE nationals, we extended the program to 50 UAE nationals. We had 16 UAE nationals actively participating into that program. Still, they collaborate within the organization. They talk. Look, this is the change I underway. So let's say I've again impacted 1/3 of the 16, or let's say four people. These 4 people will eventually talk to an additional 20 people within the company. Now I have other UAE nationals that, want who missed the first course. They want to have that course done for them again, which is totally amazing, right? Then I'm working with my line managers. Now that the line manager population is around 70 people. When we start and we work throughout them, again, maybe I will not influence everybody. Maybe I will influence a quarter of them. Then they will influence another 4 people. And this is how it happens. It is, keep your eyes on the game, on the ball, and be focused, and have perseverance to go about it.
And what I get from you,
there are no quick fixes, by the way.
That's it. That's what I was hearing from you.
There is no quick fixes. That's why when we start talking, we were talking on a year and a half or more horizon, and there is a reason for that. Because and the way I see things, if you have big shots of interventions, then you have the I forget aspect and I go back to my habits aspect. But if I have frequent and smaller shots of interventions, then certain things do become a habit.
So what I get from you, Andreas, is it's having a long vision and having a wide vision.
Exactly.
Andreas, let's shift the conversation towards the current situation with COVID.
Yes.
I've got some questions around that as well. So one here from Paul, which says, being in an industry which stands and falls on risk, how has your talent development changed amidst a once in a century risk event?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it's quite a dense comment. Hey, actually, I've got an idea. Hey, Paul, if you're willing, can you come off mute? I want to hear it from Paul himself. Paul, are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Hello, Paul.
Hi, Andreas. No, I'm curious about how you keep to develop your talent when there is a big event like this going on, and because insurance is risk, it's not like it's. I know, because we saw some of your teams being impacted by this, but also they're kind of used to risk in some ways. So of all people, you must have some thoughts on how to continue to develop your talent during a crisis, which for some people, they would just push it completely to one side.
Okay. So again, there are 2 elements here. One is the focus on talent development. And we are totally committed on that. Again, and I like to always present figures. So our last face-to-face or live, so to say, training program we had was actually with you guys, right? It was the course Leading Your Teams Towards Empowerment. That was the last live. That happened on March 7th. From March 8th till date, I had 376 people participating into online events. So there are two types of online events. One is, webinars or live trainings, and the other one is, our e-learning content. Now, between those two, sort of say, modes, so we're talking about almost 2 months, I had 376 unique participations. I think this is an amazing statistic that I'm throwing out there. And believe it or not, more participation was towards those live trainings / webinars, where I had people participating, about 1 of 5 people participating in internal-led initiatives, and about 115 people participating into external initiatives. So as for learning and development, we are really on top of that. When I talk about live events or webinars, we did run 15 different initiatives of that sort. And the remaining was e-learning. So the focus is there. What has changed is the mode, is the medium. How do I go about it into delivering those very important interventions? Now, within sort of say this COVID situation, there's also an opportunity. As I told you, as mentioned before, there is a time element. We do have a little bit more time because we're saving time on commute. So what we have seen, where we have tried to focus, is also increase the expertise of our teams towards that. For example, we had, as part of our initiative on the weekly distribution training, we had our distribution team taking product refreshers. And now more than ever, it is very key that our customers are fully aware of, the risks and what sort of say type of protections that we are offering on that. Now, as a company, we also have been so this is more or less on the learning side of things. From an organizational perspective, we understand the needs of the community. We have been in the forefront on being, socially responsible with the community. And we had many initiatives around that. First of all, we had, for our, customers, we have introduced free telehealth consultation services through a company called TrueDoc. So you don't need, and people are worried, they want to stay at home. So people now have access to telehealth consulting that was free of charge. So, we are taking on the cost for this initiative, understanding that people cannot go out of their houses or they're afraid to go out of their houses. We provided financial relief to our, so to say, motor clients who renewed with us. So we gave a 30% of our premiums for April and May. We understand that people are not driving that much during that time. So we provided that financial relief to the people. We have fast-tracked payments to our medical providers. Now, this is above and beyond, so to say, our contractual obligations and the pre-agreed payment terms. So we have fast-tracked those payments. So whatever was due to medical providers till end of March, we paid within April, into an amount of 150 million dirhams. Understanding that also our medical providers are into, a certain situation given this crisis due to COVID. Plus, we have done discounts for all the frontline staff, in all the companies. So if you work into healthcare, if you are a member of the police or civil defense, you have discounts on our range of products as a means to say thank you also for the hard work you're doing. So this is how we have been sort of say handling the situation from an insurance sort of say perspective. I don't know if I answered your question, Paul.
And Andreas, I think you answered it and more. I'm looking at our time. I mean, I do have more questions, and I did say that we would at least pause around the 1:45 time slot to have a bit of a Q&A. I've already been asking some of the questions, but I'd like us to turn to the floor and to say, is there anyone who does have a question that hasn't yet either been answered or been fully answered? And you can either type it into the chat or maybe put your hand up, or if you're feeling brave, just come off mute and ask the question. I'm just pausing just to see if anyone's typing. Andreas, while people are thinking and maybe typing now,
yes,
let's keep going, because I'm curious, because we are here under the umbrella of International Coaching Week.
Yes.
So how is coaching either impacting or supporting in this coronavirus situation and time?
Well, so there are different elements into this. One element, again, as I told you, coaching has a tremendous impact to me as a manager / leader. So, keeping in touch with my team, I realized the importance of it. Even if you don't even have an agenda, so kind of bending the rules a little bit on coaching. One initiative we have implemented is, now we have 4 professional coaches, internal professional coaches. We have extended coaching to our population. So prior to the sort of say COVID situation, we used to have 12 colleagues being coached as part of our women empowerment initiative. So that was something that was taking place. We extended that to the whole organization and said, okay, we understand these are difficult times. We have trained internal resources, and we are here also to give back. We're here to provide the service to you. We had 14 nominations, so this is something that we're going to be starting to apply. We understand it's going to be a little bit challenging. We have to, we communicate to the people that showed interest. We said, okay, you're talking to Andreas again, not to the head of HR. So whatever we say it's between us. It's a different type of relationship, right? And so this is something that we have started. It was very, very pleasing, very stimulating to see such a response from our people in that regard. Now, it's very interesting to what exactly people do want during this time. And I've been philosophizing and have talked to a lot of our people during this time. There is a plethora of emotions, happening all together at the same time. Imagine it, or the way I imagine it is like a laundry thing, where all these emotions work concurrently at the same time. There is a lot of fear out there. There is a lot of happiness out there. People tend to spend time a lot with their loved loved ones. There is a lot of aggravation. What I see totally different, so to say, in the coaching environment because of COVID is the fact that for the past 2 months, people have been used to do what they're told to do. So for the past 2 months, we're following instructions. You know, there's someone out there who knows much better, you know, from us what they need to do. We are very open to listen to advice. Some of the people who contact us, this is what they needed at that point. So the challenge here is, you know, how do you sort of say, stick to the principles and, you know, be the person that owns the process rather than, you know, be the rescuer or the behavior. So now a lot of people want that. They want somebody to rescue them. They're like, what do you think will happen? What is your thoughts about that? Because for the past 2 months, you know, we have somebody rescuing us, right? So it is the way, again, with how I philosophize the whole situation is, okay, how do we apply the principles and again, make it about, you know, our coaches rather than sort of say, you know, it's easy to give an advice, yeah, do this, do that. At the end of the day, what do I know, right? Which also has other risks. Well.
Andreas, thank you. And yeah, what I'm hearing, and I actually personally, I agree, is that in this situation where people don't know what to do, they want to give their responsibility away and have someone else tell them what to do. It's our job as coaches. How can we keep empowering them? How can we keep the responsibility with themselves? Yeah, that's on us as coaches to flex those muscles more. I've got a question here from Kerry, and I think she's noticed that we've been talking a lot so far about thinking and feeling and action. She wants to know about the results. So she says, what actual changes have you seen in performance and personal review meetings using a coaching approach? It's quite a pointy question for you there.
Well, again, you know, there are two elements into that. I can discuss a bit, you know, my experience on how I have applied it to my team. You know, so me wearing, sort of say, the leader hat, rather than trying to sort of say observe what has happened to other teams who say that, sort of say, they have applied those principles. One observation I have seen greater degree of ownership, right? So when you have a greater degree of ownership, you know, you're part of you have a stake on the game, so to say.
And how have you seen that? How have you seen the ownership, Andreas? What have you seen that's told you there's more ownership?
Okay, so it's not, oh, what have I seen? It's more of what have I done, right? It's easy for me to say to my people, do this, do that, do that. You know, I find it more powerful to say, okay, you know, how do you guys think we should achieve this? And of course, I'm oversimplifying it now. And then, okay, go about with your idea. It's your idea, it's your baby. Go about it. Then that increases the stake. So that change, and again, over the short period of time that I've been implementing those practices, you know, I've seen a tremendous impact to my team, both into how autonomously they take upon their tasks and the quality of the deliverable and the quality of the cooperation between us and alignment between us.
Nice. Thanks, Andreas.
So this is my own personal, tangible, sort of say, insight on that. again, from an institutional level, and as we move towards the organizational journey, using that terminology on that front, then I can start measuring, so to say, both engagement levels and, so to say, performance levels at the team level. And I really want to make this correlation of, so to say, people analytics and informed decision making.
I think that might be another whole conversation, another whole interview for us to have.
Again, during this period of time, there was a lot of reflection around that aspect of things. And again, it is, how do you choose to use that time? So I've been, I've been reflecting a lot around that area. And this new world, it is a great opportunity for such things to happen. Again, wearing my HR expertise hat, we talk about digitalization or HR digital. Well, yeah, it's happening, and it's happening much faster than we anticipated it. So now you put in some analytics and some IA, which are, which would be subsequent steps. You will start having powerful stuff around that.
Maybe next time we can have a chat about how coaching and AI and analytics come together.
Yeah, but again, I don't have the coaching expertise hat, so.
We're at the end pretty much of our time, Andreas. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank
you for having me. I thought I hope it was useful to everybody. Again, I just embraced the opportunity that was given to me to share. And I think this is very powerful when a lot of us share a lot of different things. Again, you need to take little things from everybody, but then you will have a great, so to say, result at the end.
So we have one final question for you, which is from Chantal. And I'm wondering if Chantal, I haven't had a reply from her, I'm wondering if she's willing to ask the question herself. Chantal, are you there? Yeah, go for it.
I can go ahead and ask it. It might be a strange question, but Andreas, if you could describe yourself as a fruit, a car, or an item going into the world of coaching, and now that you've actually come out of that world,
a car,
or an item,
going
into the world of coaching, and now that you've introduced this to your organization, what kind of fruit would you be? So going in, what fruit would you be? Or coming out, what fruit would you be?
Oh, God. This is not...
This is why we left it at the end, Andreas.
Yeah. Oh, God. I really cannot...
Or any metaphor that you could... any metaphor that you could think of when you went into coaching and now that you're experiencing it and doing it with the organization, do you feel that has maybe changed you, or I don't know, I basically want to put a visual aspect on the growth.
Okay, I can ask this. Can I re-ask the question, Chantal?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. The lifeline here, yes.
Andrea, something like this, okay? If you could picture yourself before you got into coaching and describe yourself as something that you imagine in your mind, and then how you are now afterwards, what's the before and what's the after?
Okay, and again, I will go back to my earlier statement, because my journey is not that long. You know, it's less than a year. It's like 10 months old. I went into this journey very skeptical, you know, and with an entertaining attitude as well. Okay, yeah, let's look at that. I went through a realization phase. Okay, this is powerful stuff that we're talking about. Okay, what can I do with that? And there are two things I can do. A, what changes I can make to myself, number one. And this is what we discussed about, you know, the small things before around feedback, around attentions, around active listening, and all these things, right? And then is how can I transmit or infuse that culture to my organization so I can multiply the impact. You know, those were you know, my intents. Now, I realized as a person 10 months down the line, I'm a bit more relaxed in the sense that now I have the necessary tools to set the attention where that is required. I've become a bit more self-aware. Again, simple techniques. Now I'm worrying. Now I'm happy. You know. Now,
yeah.
You know. So that I say this is a very powerful impact. And again, without boiling the ocean, the sum of little things every day that you do different, at the end, will have a significant change. Or this is what I want to believe.
Andreas.
I don't know if
Thank you. Thank you. And Andreas, if I can ask, if anyone wanted to get in touch with you, how could they do that?
Yes.
How? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Email, WhatsApp, phone, have it your way.
So you're happy for us to share that with people?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Andreas, there's a few messages coming in on the chat. Kerry says, Andreas, I'm really excited to know what OIC is doing, taking this approach. Many companies in Dubai claim to have a coaching culture. Few actually do. Paul says he wants to underline what Kerry said. You're a brave, authentic leader to lift your vision, to really adopt a coaching culture. So we want to acknowledge you. Andreas, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Matt.
Thank you. And that's it, folks. Thank you. We're going to stop recording now.